my name is Irene, and in this video we are going to learn about the split face tool, which is going to allow us to apply different materials within the same surface. So let's get to it. Alright, so in the introduction to Revit, we talked about the fact that materials are assigned to a property overall to a geometry. Then, in the previous video, we talked about the paint face tool, which allows us to basically override that material property of the geometry to create an exception in specific faces. And what I want to do now is I want to take it one step further. What if I have a surface, a face, where I want to have multiple materials? So for example, my floor here. So for my floor, I'm going to isolate this guy for a second. So if you want to isolate geometry, you can select it. You can go to these like goggles here and you can say isolate geometry or category or element. In this case, I'm going to go with element. So what I want to show you here is that my floor is a single surface. So if I use the PD tool, let's say I'm just going to go with carpet to demonstrate. I can assign a different material to this face. So the rest of my floor is still wood, and now this is a different material, but I'm assigning that material to the entirety of the face. So what happens if I want to, for example, have wooden floor throughout most of my store, but maybe I want to have tile in the bathroom, or maybe I want to have tile kind of like marking the entry area to the store. So in those cases, I'm going to reset here my temporary isolation. In those cases, we are going to be able to use the split face tool. So what this is going to allow us to do is, like the name says, split a face into multiple surfaces. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, caveat, spoilers, this is not my favorite way to assign multiple finishes to a floor, or if I would have multiple walls, or if I would have different ceilings, but it is the way that I'm going to do it this time because it's relatively easy. And these playlist is about Revit basics. I'm going to have an entire other playlist that is going to be going a little bit deeper into more complex things, and then we're going to see other methods. But if I want to have multiple finishes in the same surface, split face is the easiest way to do it. So how does it work? Well, this is going to be another modification. So once again, we have to go to the Modify tab, and we're going to find that right above the Paint tool. And the quick key is SF for split face. So when you activate the split face tool, the first thing that you're going to see is that Revit is going to ask you to select the face that you want to split. So let's say that in this case, it's going to be the top of my floor. Now, if you are not sure if it's selecting it, you can hold tab. Now, it's not highlighting anything, and that is because by default, the way that Revit works is that for something to be selected, you have to be clicking on the edge. So if I want my floor, I would have to go, for example, to this edge here, and there you go. See, you can see the highlight. Now, if you don't like this selection option, you can actually go on the bottom right corner, and you're going to see all of these selection tools, and you can click this one here, select element by face. And what this is going to do is going to allow you to highlight the selection of the geometry instead of purely by going to the edges, simply by hovering over the face. So I can click on my surface here, and you will know that you are in split face mode because you will notice that number one, the entire model has become kind of like grayed out. Number two, it's giving you these kind of like orange outline that you can see. This outline is indicating the original boundary of my floor. Because basically the way that split face is going to work is that you need to create another closed loop within the floor. Now, there's two ways to do this. Option one, let's say that, for example, I want to create a little bit of like a half circle situation, kind of mirroring this guy here, but like here for my entryway. So option one is that your boundary is going to touch these orange lines here. So I'm going to go here to, top view here. And in that case, it's actually not very visible. That's fine. So in that case, what you want to do is you're going to use your draw commands. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're starting on that edge, right? So you want it to make sure that it's touching that orange boundary. Now, let's say that it's going to go, how far do I want it to go? 5 feet maybe? Sure, 5 feet. 5 feet. And then I'm going to come here and I'm going to wing it for how far it has to go. And then I'm going to bring it. And the important thing here, escape, is that these pink lines are my new lines that I created now. So the important thing here, and I'm going to again go here to this side so you can see it a little bit better. The most important thing here is that the lines need to start and end touching the orange boundary. If this line comes, let's say, and it stops there, and I try to finish, it's going to give me an error message because it's basically telling me, well, you have not created a closed loop. But if I go here and I Control Z, have it touch there, then it will work. So once I have brought my pink line to the edge, I can now come here, and when I say finish, you're going to see that it actually finished editing. Now, you're not going to notice much of a difference except the fact that you can see those lines there. But the real change is going to be on the fact that now you can apply materials to this surface. So if I go PT, you are going to be able to, let's say I'm going to search for a tile. Let's do these tile porcelain, and I'm going to put it there. Bam. So see, now you can have two different materials on the same surface, okay? So that is the main objective of this. Now, the other way that you can do it is by creating a completely independent separate boundary. So what do I mean with that? Well, this boundary here was starting and ending at the orange line. But for example, here for my floor, let's say that I just want to create a rectangle taking into account basically like my existing walls. So same thing, I'm going to go SF for split face. And what I am going to do, I'm going to click on my top surface again. And this time what I'm going to do is instead of drawing the lines, I can use here pick lines. And let's say that I'm going to go by picking my wall boundaries. So I can click on this guy, this guy, this guy. Did it pick? There you go. Now it picked it. Let's say this guy here, and let's say this guy here. So this is another way to do it, basically following the boundaries of a room. Now, remember, it has to be a closed boundary. This line is going through. It shouldn't do that. So we're going to go TR for trim, and we're going to go trim, trim, and then trim, 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 and then trim, trim, and trim, trim. When we are done and happy, see this boundary, I'm going to come here to the back so you can see it a little bit better. This boundary here is not touching any of my orange lines, but because it is a closed boundary, it will work. So if I say okay, it will create my boundary. Now, if I go to, I can assign a material to it. So another very important thing that I want to highlight here is that PT and paint face and split face work in unison. You cannot use split face and then assign the material property to the geometry. It will assign it to the entire geometry. So when you split a face, you can only assign a material using the paint face tool. Okay? Now, this sounds all awesome and great. And once again, you may be very tempted to like, oh my God, I'm going to split every single face in my project and then paint it. I don't love this option. The main reason that I don't love it is that it can be really hard sometimes to edit these split faces. So for example, let's say that I want this tile inlay detail to be rounded to reflect the rest of my shop. So the problem here is, let me rotate it, there you go. The problem here is that now I am dealing with two boundaries. One is the boundary of my floor and the other is the boundary of the face. So you have to be very, very careful when you're selecting because see, for example, if I come here, this is the boundary of my floor. So if I select this and I say edit boundary, I would be editing the boundary of the entire floor, which is not what I want to do. So you have to be really, really careful. Let's say I'm going to come here and see it is still giving me the boundary of my floor. So I'm going to come here to my edge. See how now it's saying there split face, face region, split face. That is the boundary that we want to be able to edit. So if I go here and I say edit boundary, let's say that I just want to use my fillet to round these corners here. There you go. And then let's say there you go. And then let's make it even. What is that number? 2. Let's make it 3 feet. And then let's make this guy also 3 feet. I can say yes, and now it's going to change my boundary. So you have to be really, really careful because now the tool is only going to, you're only going to be able to edit the boundary if you have selected the actual split face. The boundary of the floor does not count. So see, I can come here and say edit boundary, and maybe I want to create a cut here for the door. So like maybe I want my tile to go halfway through the door. So I can come here and say, let's see if I can find it. Let's say that it's going to go from here to there, kind of like the halfway point of my door. And then I'm going to bring it here. And then let's say I'm going to trim this and use my split. That's what I wanted to do. And then there you go. See, so I can edit my boundary a little bit and you can see that is going to change. So this is the only con that I can see with it. The other problem with it is, oh, let's say There you go, the split face there. If you delete it, it's going to delete all of the face finishes. So you can see that my split face is still there, but it has removed the finish. So as you can see, it's not a perfect tool. It tends to be kind of finicky, which is why it's not my favorite way of assigning materials, especially if I have a very complex project. But this project here is small enough, is simple enough that I can get away with using split face. But with that, we have reached the end of this video. If you have any questions, by all means, feel free to add them in the comments. Also, feel free to join and subscribe and like and comment and do all of the things. But otherwise, thank you very much for joining in. Thank you very much for sticking through, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good one. Bye.